Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Najwa Hamila. Today I'm going to talk about free and bound morphemes. This topic is very important in linguistics because it helps us understand how words are formed and how meaning works in language. For the next slide is introduction. We all know that language is made up of words, but did you know that words themselves are made up of smaller parts? These smallest meaningful parts are called morphemes, and there are two main kinds of morphemes: free morphemes and bound morphemes. In this presentation, I will explain both and give some examples to you. Okay, for the next slide, it's what is a morpheme? A morpheme is the smallest unit of meaning in a language. For example, let's look at the word unhappiness. It has three parts: un, happy, and ness. Each part adds meaning. Un means not. Happy is the root meaning feeling good, and the lessness change it into a noun, so together they mean the state of not being happy. For the next slide is free morpheme. A free morpheme is a word that can stand alone. It already has meaning by itself. For example, it's book, dog, run, happy, and play. Each of these can be a complete word in a sentence. For the next slide is bound morpheme. A bound morpheme, on the other hand, cannot stand alone, but it must be attached to another word to make sense. These are usually prefixes or suffixes. For instance, un become in, and unhappy as in become cat, or ed in become play. Each one adds meaning, but they can't exist alone. For the next slide, it's comparison table. Here's a simple comparison. Free morphemes have their own meaning and can stand alone. Bound morphemes depend on another word. For example, happy is free, but un is bound. For next slides, it's types of bound morphemes. There are two kinds of bound morphemes: derivational and inflectional. Derivational morphemes create a new word or change its part of speech. For example, happy become happiness or adjective to noun. Inflectional morphemes meanwhile change the tense or number, like walk become walk, but or dog become dogs. For the next slide, it's example in sentence. Let's analyze this sentence. The dogs played happily. I will talk about this analysis. Dog is a free morpheme, and then as is bound, marking plural. For play is free. For ed, it's bound, slowing past tense, and then happy is free. For li is bound, turning it into an adverb. So one sentence can contain many morphemes. The next slide is why morphemes matter. I will explain about this, but simple points. Understanding morphemes help us understand word formation and grammar. It's especially useful when we learn new words new words or analyze text in literature and linguistics. It's also helped in teaching English to others. And for the next slide is conclusion, and I will explain about conclusion for this slide. To conclude, morphemes are the smallest units of meaning in language. They can be free or bound. By studying morphemes, we can better how words work and how they change and how meaning is built. For example, the word unhappily has three morphemes: un, happy, and ly, together meaning in a way that is not happy. So guys, this is my presentation. Thank you for watching and listening. I hope this explanation helps you understand morphemes better. I'm proud to be an English student at University Bina Sarana Informatica. See you next time, guys. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nashwa Kamila Majati Sharudin. Today, I'm going to present my topic. We're analyzing a morphological error and structure in the sentence. I am like going to crowded place, but my friend likes them. So the next slide is identify all morphemes. This is many example in this table, and I will explain it a little bit. For point, this sentence contains 16 morphemes. Some are free morphemes like I, go, friend, and place, while others are bound morphemes such as an, in, ed, and as. You can see example in this table. This is next slide and next table. For example, identify all morphemes, but my friend likes them, and then total morphemes is 16, and free morphemes like I, like, go, to, crowd, place, but my friend them. And for bound morphemes, it's an, in, ed, as, or plural, and as for third person singular. For the next slide is classification. This is table 2 and many example in this table. I will explain it for a little bit. For point, bound morphemes attach to roots to create new meanings or grammatical forms. For example, an, in, unlike change the meaning to not like, while as in places, and likes surface as plural and third person singular markers. As you can see in this table, so many example. Maybe example 2, crowd, ed, place, as, but, and then many example. For the next table, this one for example. Okay, for the next slide is how the prefix an and suffix and the suffix as modify meaning. I will explain it for point about this. The prefix "an" performs a derivational function. It creates a new word with an opposite meaning. Meanwhile, "as" performs an inflectional function. It only adjusts the word's grammatical form without changing its meaning. For number 1, prefix "an". The type is derivational prefix, and for function, adds negative meaning or expresses the reversal of an action. For example, in context, unlike become not like or different from. For morphological process, derivation, it changes meaning but not the word, class, or still a verb or adjective. Based on theory, number 1, according to Angia Putri et al. 2025, affixation or including prefixes is a derivational process that modifies meaning and something grammatical category. And for the last, or the second number, in structuralist theory, "an" is analyzed as a bound morpheme attached to the root, like to create a new lexeme. Number 2, suffix "as". The type is inflectional suffix. For functions, number 1, in places, marks plurality or noun become plural noun. Number 2, in likes, marks third person singular in present tense. For morphological process, inflection change grammatical form but not lexical meaning. Based on theory, number 1, Alfianita et al. 2024, or following Trier and Katamba, note that suffixes like "as" serve to indicate grammatical relationship rather than change meaning. For number 2, or the second number, the generative morphology theory views "as" a synthetic marker that operates under grammatical rules or agreement and number. For the next slide, it's morphological theories supporting the analysis. A. Structuralist theory or Saussure-Bloomfield. Number 1. Focuses on analyzing morphemes as the smallest meaningful units in word formation. The second, in this theory, words like "unlike" and "places" are analyzed by identifying each constituent morpheme or "an", "place like", "as". Number 3, supported by Angia Putri et al. 2025, who emphasize the structural analysis of morphemes and affixes in understanding word formation. B. Generative morphology or Chomsky-Hall. Number 1, emphasize the role of morphology is a grammar and meaning generation. For the second, the prefix "an" represents a derivational rule that applies before syntactic processing, while "as" functions as a grammatical inflection added after syntactic formation. For the last, as stated in Alfianita et al. 2024, citing Trier and Katamba, morphological process like affixation and inflection reflect both syntactic and semantic function. For the conclusion, In conclusion, an change the meaning of the root word derivation and as change its grammatical form or inflection. This analysis shows how morphological theory help us understand both the structure and function of words in English. As you can see, this is the bibliography or reference. You can see that in this slide for reference. So guys, this is my presentation, case study 1. Thank you for watching and see you. Good morning everyone. My name is Najwa Kamilah Majati Syarudin. Today I'll be analyzing the morphological differences between several word pairs: manage, management, talk, talking, hope, hopeful, and play, become, play. So we'll be continue to the presentation. So guys, this is the next slide. Number 1 is identifying inflectional versus derivational. I will explain it about this table for a little bit. In this case, we identify two morphological types, derivational and inflectional. Derivational morphemes form new words with new meanings, while inflectional morphemes only modify tense, aspect, or number. As you can see, many examples in this table. Okay, the next slide is differences in meaning, grammatical function, and word class. As you can see, many examples in this table, right? Okay, I will explain about this. For instance, the suffix man in management changes the verb manage into a noun, a derivational process. Meanwhile, ing in talking and ed in played simply mark aspect or tense without changing the core meaning. These are inflectional. As you can see, for the next slide, it's table again, and so many examples in this table. Okay, for the next slide, it's number 3. It is 3 structures or derivational sequence. You can see that the 3D diagram. So I will explain it about this slide. 4 point. Each process can be visualized morphologically. In manage plus man, the suffix adds a new lexical layer, forming a noun. In play plus ed, the suffix only inflects the verb for past tense. As you can see, the example 3 diagram for manage plus management and talk plus talking. And then you can see any examples: hope become hopeful and play become played. You can see the 3 diagram too. So for the next slide is justification with morphological principle or theoretical support. I will explain it about this, but simple points. For this slide, according to Angier Putri et al. 2025, affixation plays a crucial role in both grammatical and semantic modification. central to morphological productivity. Meanwhile, Alfianita et al. 2024, using Chair's generative framework, emphasized that derivation occurs lexically while inflection in synthetic. As you can see this slide, you can read more by yourself. And the next slide, it's summary table 2. For example, maybe. Okay guys, this is conclusions. In summary, number 1, man and fool are derivational, changing word, class, and meaning. And second, ing and ed are inflectional, changing only grammatical form. This analysis illustrates how morphology functions both as a meaning-building system and a grammatical framework. And this is bibliography or reference. As you can see this slide, you can read more by yourself. Okay guys, this is my presentation. Thank you for watching and see you. Good morning everyone. Hi, my name is Najwa Kamila Majati Syarudin. Today, I'm going to presentation. In this case, we will analyze why when is not the regular past form of go and how it's explained by the concept of suppletion in morphology. So, we will continue to the presentation. So, for these slides, talk about analysis of when as the past tense of go. I will explain it a little bit for simple points. Okay, for regular versus irregular morphology. Simple point. Normally, English forms past tense with the suffix ed, like play become played, but go become one doesn't follow that pattern. There's no good, and when comes from a different Old English word, when done. So, it can be explained through regular morphological rules. As you can see this slide, explain it about analysis. For number 1, why when cannot be explained through regular morphological rules. The students claim that when is formed by the ed rule is incorrect because the regular past tense rule in English form the past tense by adding ed to the verb group. Play become played, talk become talk. There is no phonological or morphonological connection between go and when. Historically, when originated from a different Old English verb when done or to turn or go, which later replaced the regular past tense go. Thus, when is not created by any productive morphological rule. For the next slide is number 2, definition and examples of suppletion. As you can see, you can read more by yourself. And this is other English examples for these tables. You can see any example in this table. And then each pair shows semantic continuity or same meaning relation, but morphological discontinuity or different stems. I will explain it simple points for this slide. What is suppletion? Suppletion happens when different word forms come from completely different roots but share meaning. For example, go become one, be become worse, and good become better. They are semantically related but morphologically unrelated. Okay, for the next slide is representation of suppletive forms in the mental lexicon. I will explain it about this with simple points. In our mental dictionary, go and when are stored as separate lexical items, but they are linked by grammar and meaning. When we speak, the brain retrieves one directly for the past tense, not by adding ed. And this is, for example, our simplified lexical representation. As you can see for this slide, any example. Okay, for these slides, theoretical evidence, and I will explain it about this with simple points for you guys. So for the theoretical evidence, according to Aronoff 2017, suppletive forms fill different cells in the same paradigm and show how morphology interacts with lexical memory. From Angia Putri et al. 2025 and Alfianita et al. 2024 also support this by explaining that suppletion belongs to the lexical level, not the role-based morphological process. Okay, for the next slide, as you can see, B. Structuralist and Generative Morphology by Anggia Putri and Alfianita. As you can see, you can read more by yourself, guys. And then this is summary table, and you can see the example in this table too. Okay, for the conclusion, to conclude, when is a suppletive form, not a regular ed past tense. It shows that some words in English are stored, not formed, illustrating the balance between rules and memory in morphology. So this is my presentation. Thank you very much and thank you for watching. See you. Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Najwa Kamila Machati Sharadin. Today I'm going to presentation. In this case study, we will analyze how English compounds work using the examples greenhouse effect, blackboard, smartphone, and pickpocket. You can see that we will be continue the presentation. Okay, this is the next slide. Number 1, decomposition into constituent morphemes or morphemic breakdown. This is the table and many examples in this table, and then you can see any example in this table too. And each example combines three morphemes, showing how English compounds often consist of two lexical roots forming a new semantic unit. And I will explain it about this slide for a little bit and simple points. So, morphemic breakdown, each compound contains three morphemes. For instance, blackbird is formed from black and bird. and pickpocket comes from pick and pocket. And the next slide is number 2, endocentric versus exocentric compounds. This is the table 2 and many examples in this table. You can see that, and then I will explain it about endocentric and exocentric for simple points. Endocentric meaning determined by the head noun. For exocentric meaning extends beyond literal combination or no internal hab. But I will explain two another points for you guys about endocentric versus exocentric. In an endocentric compound, the head gives the main meaning. Blackbird is a type of bird, but in exocentric compounds like pickpocket, there is no internal hab. It refers to a person, not a pocket. For the next slide is number 3, meaning formation, head versus modifier. According to Theoretical Perspective 2023 and Bird 23. Okay, as you can see guys, you can read more by yourself, and I will explain it simple points to you. Explain about this slide. Meaning, formation, head versus modifier, or meaning and head modifier relationship. The meaning of endocentric compounds depends on their head and modifier. The head defines the category, while the modifier narrows the sense. For example, smartphone means a smart kind of phone. So, the next slide, number 4, stress pattern and interpretation. In English, stress distinguishes compounds from processes. This is the table 2. As you can see guys, many examples in this table. So I will explain about this slide with simple points for you guys. In English, stress placement affects interpretation. Blackboard or compound means a teaching tool, while blackboard or process simply means a board that is black. Stress helps us distinguish between a lexical compound and a descriptive process. And this is the next slide. It's the same topic, stress patterns, as you can see. Okay, for the next slide, it's number 5, theoretical perspective or theoretical support. As you can see, it's there A and B. You can read more by yourself, and I will explain it for simple points for you guys. And for this slide, I will explain it a little bit, make it simple. From a structuralist perspective, compounds are built hierarchically with heads and modifiers. From a cognitive and generative perspective, compounds represent conceptual units in the mental lexicon where meaning can extend metaphorically. As you can see guys, the next slide is summary table and many examples in this table, as you can see. So this is conclusion. To conclude, compounds show how morphology, meaning, and phonology interact. They can be endocentric or exocentric, their meanings depend on structure, and stress plays a key role in interpretation. So this is my presentation, guys. Thanks for watching, and thank you and see you. Hi guys, good morning. My name is Najwa Kamila Majati Sharudin. Today I'm going to presentation. In this case study, we will analyze the morphological structural of the word unbelievableness. Well, identify its morphemes, explain their types, and explore how derivational and inflectional process interact. Will be continue the presentation. So the next slide is the table. So as you can see, guys, this table, many examples are there, and I will explain it for simple points for you guys. Okay, I will explain it. Morpheme breakdown. The word unbelievableness consists of 4 morphemes. Un become as a negative prefix, believe as the root, able as an adjective forming suffix, and ness as a noun forming suffix. All of these are bond or free derivational morphemes. They are non-inflectional elements. This slide explains it about non-inflectional morpheme is involved. All are derivational because each affix changes either the meaning or the grammatical category of word. The next slide is number 2, morphological tree diagram. As you can see, this example tree diagram, derivational sequence. Number 1, root, belief or fee or verb. Number 2, able, become believable or adjective. Number 3, un, become unbelievable or adjective or negative. And the last is ness, unbelievableness or noun. I will explain it about morphological tree for this slide. Here's the morphological tree. The best is belief or a verb. We first add able to from believable or adjective, then un to create unbelievable, and finally ness to form the noun unbelievableness. Each step transforms the grammatical category. The next slide is number 3, interaction of derivational process or process interactions. As you can see, many explain it about this slide, right? And I will explain it about simple points for you guys. Okay, about these slides are process interactions. Following Ng Putri et al. 2025, derivation is hierarchical. Each affix attached to the proper word class, creating layered meaning. This word shows how morphology builds complexity from an action to a quality and finally to a state or concept. Okay, for these slides, I will read more from by myself. As Alfianita et al. 2024 explain the process of affixation and composition and rich meaning and lexical variety. In this case, Morphology shows how affixes progressively refine the concept from an action or belief to a quality or believable to a state for unbelievableness. Thus, unbelievable demonstrates derivational layering, not simple linear attachment. Its affix depends on the grammatical category created by the previous one. So the next slide is number 4, theoretical support. And as you can see, this is the table and many example, guys. And the next slide, and I will explain it about this slide for simple points. Theoretical justification, according to Carr 2010 and Katamba 2015, morphology studies the smallest meaningful units and their grammatical functions. Unbelievableness is a perfect example of how derivation changes both form and meaning systematically. For the next slide is conclusion. In conclusion, unbelievableness is formed entirely through derivational morphology. It demonstrates how affixes interacts with meaning, producing a complex yet precise expression of the state of being unbelievable. As you can see, for the next slide is bibliography or reference for you, and you want to know that reference, you can see this slide. And then for the next slides, it's there too. So this is my presentation today. Thank you for watching and see you guys. Bye.